Welcome to your Forces in Motion Unit test. Remember, anytime during this test you may pause the video to stop and think about the question, or you can rewind it to hear the question read to you again. If you have any questions during the test, please pause the video and raise your hand and I will come over and help you out. Are you ready? I'm going to start reading. Number 1. If the person in the picture lets go of the rope, the weight, W, will fall to the ground. What force is acting to pull the weight to the ground? Is it A, friction, B, gravity, C, collision, or D, magnetism? Number 2. A student measures the time it took for her to run 50 meters. What is she able to calculate using both her distance and time measurements? Is it A, her force, B, her weight, C, her speed, or D, her direction? Number 3. Which tools are needed to measure the speed of a rolling ball? Is it A, a stopwatch and ruler, B, a spring scale and a ruler, letter C, a thermometer and a balance, or D, a thermometer and a stopwatch? Again, what tools are needed to measure the speed of a rolling ball? Number 4. Which of the following is not a force? Is it A, Newton, B, gravity, C, friction, or D, magnetism? Please turn your page. Number 5. What force slows down a baseball rolling on a field? Is it A, heat, B, light, C, friction, or D, magnetism? Number 6. Libby went on a trip with her family. In her log, she recorded the time of day and how far her family had traveled since they started. If you take a look at the table, one column says time of day, 8 o'clock a.m., 9 o'clock a.m., 10 o'clock a.m., 11 o'clock a.m. Think about what changes as you go from row to row. Then the next column says total distance traveled. 0 kilometers, 30 kilometers, 60 kilometers, and 90 kilometers. Again, think of what is changing as you're going from row to row. The question asks, what speed is Libby's family traveling in kilometers per hour? Think about the formula we used in class to determine average speed and speed. Number 7. The graph to the right shows the movement of a car during a 4-hour trip. 4-hour trip. What was the speed of the car if it traveled at the same speed for all 4 hours? Again, think of your formula for speed. Is your choice A, 0 kilometers per hour, B, 50 kilometers per hour, C, 100 kilometers per hour, or D, 200 kilometers per hour? Make sure you're looking at the table to the right. Number 8. Which of the following is most likely to increase friction? Think about what the word increase means. Increase versus decrease. Your choices are letter A, wax on wood floors. B, snow on a roadway. C, wheels on roller skates. D, grooved rubber soles on shoes. Which one of those are going to increase the amount of friction? Okay, turn the page. Number 9. What force slows a skateboard when a skateboarder puts a foot down to brake? Is it A, acceleration, B, magnetism, C, friction, or D, gravity? Number 10. Mr. James mops the floors in the school each afternoon. When he finishes mopping, he always puts up a sign stating, "Warning, floor slippery when wet." Which force is reduced when the floor is wet? Okay, again, you're thinking which force is reduced when the floor is wet? Is it A, heat, B, friction, C, collision, or D, magnetism? Number 11. What do magnets have that acts on objects without touching them? Do they have A, a power, B, a machine, C, a force, or D, an acceleration? Okay, we are going to number 12, which is a short response question. Here's what it says. Different types of forces can affect how an object moves. In your answer document, identify one non-contact force. Then explain why this is considered a non-contact force. So again, you have to identify one contact force and you have to explain, so that's two things, explain why this is considered a non-contact force. Think about what we did in class when we made the web and we had types of forces and then we had collision and non-collision and then they were broke down into different types. That's going to help you answer this question. Pause the video now and write your response. When you're done, hit play and I'll read you number 13. Number 13. Some people think that friction is good, while others believe that friction acts as a negative force. Negative means bad. In your answer document, identify one positive, which is good, and one negative, which would be bad, effect that friction has in daily life, so in your everyday life. Then provide one example to illustrate each type of effect. So the word illustrate means to explain what you're talking about above here. I'll read that to you one more time. In your answer document, identify one positive and one negative effect that friction has in daily life. Then provide an example to illustrate each type of effect. Each type. All right, turn the page. Number 14. A push or a pull are two examples of which of the following? A force, B, velocity, C, a law of motion, or D, a balanced force. Number 15. Which of the following gives the definition of inertia? Inertia. A sudden shift in acceleration. B, a continuous downward force. C, the tendency of objects to resist a change in motion. Or D, the ability of objects to move in a smooth, curving path. Number 16. Stefan pushes a cart with 3 books, so it just reaches the end of a track. He puts 6 books onto the cart. What must he use next time so the cart reaches the end of the track? Does he need to use A, less force, B, more force, C, the same force, or D, a different cart? Number 17. An object's speed in a particular direction. So speed in a particular direction. Is that A, speed, B, velocity, C, acceleration, or D, position? Number 18. Suppose you roll a ball along a sidewalk. If the ball rolls 10 meters in 5 seconds, what is its average speed? Again, think of your formula on how to solve average speed. Your answer choices are A, 3 meters per second, B, 10 meters per second, C, 50 meters per second, or D, 2 meters per second. Number 19. Which of the following does not possess kinetic energy? Not kinetic. A pitcher winding up for a pitch. B, a swinging baseball bat. C, a baseball moving toward center field. Or D, a baseball caught in a catcher's mitt. 20. The energy of motion or energy in use is called A, potential energy, B, kinetic energy, C, inertia, or D, speed. Congratulations, you have finished your forces in motion test. If you have any questions at this time or you need something reread to you, please raise your hand now.